In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the necessity of perception in terms of the origins and our understanding of the universe, and also why things matter at all, why things have meaning or processes. When we think about the origins of the universe, if it was just, say, this isn't to say that the universe is perceptual, but that the origins of the universe, if it were just physical, if the only things that mattered or pertained to meaning were had to do with the, say, the origins, the indifferent origins of the universe, um, then we wouldn't need necessarily perception at all. The origins of the universe could just exist so that it's just physical. It's matter. There's space and there's time. But even time itself, and for matter to have any sort of meaning, particular meaning, not necessarily information, but meaning, it requires a perceptual process to make sense of it or to perceive meaning and information within it. And same with time, same with space. All of these have to engage within a meaning process that is direct through perception. And that involves a conscious awareness as well as a cognitive process within perception. Those two compose perceptual processing. And that has to do with component processing. So we're parsing out aspects of our perception, making sense of it through a meaning process, and that conveys information through that meaning process, which is much more broader. And this is unique to us as perceivers, as having a self within a self, and a self subjectivity that gives the physical environment and the surroundings meaning. And so we can have an origin that is purely physical, that has a concept. It doesn't have a concept of time yet, but that there's time within it, uh, or some information state within it that composes time. But that doesn't get the notion of time or the concept of time until we have perception. It doesn't become physical until we have perception. And the space between anything that's parsed out, that doesn't get any meaning until we have perception either. So perception is a key to how we directly engage with the universe and the surroundings, and it's a distinct aspect of the environment that we tend to have a causal force or causal impact towards. And this is often done through things like our direct perceptions, our cognitions, our emotions, our feelings, our motivations, our behaviors, our actions, our reasoning, our philosophies, various ideas or thoughts, forms of expression, self expression, and embodiments. They're occurring with different mind, body, environment constituents, and also mind, body, environment constituencies that allow us to act in these causal ways at an individual level that also can be occurring at a simultaneous level, and which can form uh, relations between things, which is different than also than associations, but also form these associative relationships. And I just want to also just close off with just discussing briefly the difference between things that are in relation to each other or have reciprocal relations to each other rather than associations. And reciprocal relations have to do with similarities that we can perceive in objects. They seem like each other, but they operate typically at an individual level, um, whereas an association tends to be they're paired, so they're causally paired, or they're influencing each other in some way. So that's what forms that association. So you could say have a box and a trash can that you see outside on a walk, and the box, let's say it's a rectangular box, and so is the trash can, and there's reciprocal relations between those two, but they're not necessarily associated um, until we actually have maybe the box goes into the trash can, or maybe the box gets used as a trash can, or the trash can, for example, maybe you can pick it up and carry things with the trash can. So you remove like a garbage bag, and you're using it to move stuff around. Those, well, in that case, there's a little bit of also more of that reciprocal property, reciprocal relations to it. But you can start to see the difference between reciprocal relations and associations, because associations will have to do with the level of influence or degree of influence. So that's more to do with like if we put, say, the box inside the trash can, rather than if it has commonalities to them. Um, and it's very, very important to understand that, because a lot of the things that we might perceive will have these reciprocal relations, but they're not necessarily influencing each other in any way, and they can lead us to more of these spurious relationships, or perceiving spurious relationships. There's no actual relationship beyond a perceptual, and that we're seeing in terms of the relations between those two objects or two components within our surroundings. And associations tend to have more of a direct influence. So if the box or the trash can, for example, influences your perceptions and your motivations, so that when you see the trash can, you start using the box like a trash can, that's an association that you've made between two reciprocally related properties within your surroundings. And that's all I really wanted to say about that.